Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can look at the different personalities in the first three cantos of the Bhagavatam. We've looked at some of them already, and we wanted to just get a bit more familiar with the personalities that are coming in the third canto. So I wanted to seek the blessings of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada as well, so that we can please Radha Krishna, Gaunitai, Krishna Balaram, the Guru Parampara, and also these personalities who we will just try to get to know a little bit better. So first one we know quite well, in the sense that we've talked about him quite some time. But these are all the different personalities which hopefully we'll get through today. If not, at least we want to get up to Maitri Rishi, because in the third canto, Maitri Rishi, Uddhav, and Vidud, there's quite a lot of mention about them. But we can have a very quick revision of the other personalities. Parikshit Maharaj, we are all fairly familiar with. Father was Abhimanyu, grandson of Arjun, and mother was Uttara. His wife's name was Mandravati. He had 4 children, and the eldest was Jana Mijaya. He was the eldest, and he was also the successor. And it said that Parikshit was the last heir of the Pandavas, because Ashwatthama, if you recall, had killed the children of the Pandavas beforehand. So he was the one who was going to carry the torch forward. His other names are Vishnu Ratha, saved from death by Supreme Lord himself, and he's always protected by Vishnu. Bharat is quite common. Even Arjun is called Bharat in the Bharata in the Bhagavad Gita, descendant of Bharat. Parikshit means examiner, as we know. Vira, the great fighter, and Vrakanshu, tiger among men. So these were the different names. His spiritual master was Kripacharya, who was the brother-in-law of Dronacharya, had played a big role in the Mahabharata. What was his character like? He had the highest character and moral values. He ruled the world as a great devotee under the guidance of the Brahmanas, and thus he is regarded as Raj Rishi, king who was also a great sage. His life, as we know, Ashwatthama tried to destroy him in the womb of his mother. Uttara ran towards Krishna, asked for protection. Krishna obliged, as he always does, protected Parikshit in the womb. And he saw that person, he saw the Supreme Lord. So he in his life, he was constantly looking at, is this person the Supreme Lord? He was constantly searching because he saw him in the womb. His qualities emulated that of Ram in terms of he was keeping his promises. Sibi Maharaj, he was very generous like Sibi. Ikshwaku, just like the sun maintains everybody, he also maintained everybody in his kingdom. He performed 3 horse sacrifices, conquered the whole world. He's very responsible king. He arrested Kali when Kali was hitting the legs of the bull, and at the same time, Kali took shelter of him. So he was also compassionate. He wasn't envious of anybody, it said in the Bhagavatam. So Parikshit allowed Kali to stay in the different places, and Kali asked for gold, and he allowed him to stay there as well. Very introspective. As soon as he made the mistake of garlanding Samika Rishi with the snake, he realized his mistake, and he was regretful. And he was very detached, because when he heard the curse that he was going to die in 7 days, which he could have reversed, because he was Raj Rishi, he was very powerful powerful devotee of Krishna. But he didn't reverse it. He detached himself from everything, gave the kingdom to his son, said his goodbyes, and went to the Ganga and sat there waiting for the sages. The sages came, and then finally Shukadev Goswami came, and he instructed him on the path of perfection. So he asked the relevant questions, and hence why we have the Bhagavatam in the first place. Then Shukadev Goswami, we can look at. Again, his father was Vyasadeva, mother was Vatika. He remained in the womb of Vatika for 16 years. He didn't want to come out because he didn't want to be affected by Maya. Vyasadeva asked Krishna to help, and Krishna persuaded Sukadeva Goswami to come out on the basis that Maya will not touch him. So then he came out, and his appearance was always like a 16-year-old boy. He didn't wear any clothes. He was avadut. He was great sage. He didn't have any cares at all. Very beautiful, blackish bodily hue. And he was a Parahamsa, Mahabhagat devotee of the Lord from birth. And he did not make any distinctions between male and female. One time they passed through some ladies who were bathing. He was first, and then Vyasadeva was following him. Hey, come back, my dear son. But the ladies didn't cover themselves for him, for Sukha, but they did for Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva asked him why. So they explained that it's obvious that Sukadeva Goswami doesn't make distinctions between male and female. So he was a Paramsa by nature. Incarnation of Srimati Radharani's favorite parrot in Golok Vrindavan, known as Lila Sukha, where he used to always sing the glories of Krishna to Srimati Radharani. He heard the Bhagavatam a few times from Lord Shiva, from Vyasadeva, Agastya Rishi, and from Narad Muni and Maharishi Devala. He spoke the Bhagavatam, as we know, to Parikshit Maharaj. That's why we're here. 7 days, 7 nights. And he was very renounced. It said in the Bhagavatam that he would not stay in any place for more than the time it took to milk a cow. So he's really renounced. And he's like a hidden jewel. Ignorant people would tease him. They would follow him. But as soon as he came to Shukratal, where the Bhagavatam was spoken, and he sat on the exalted seat, they all were amazed, and they left as well. He's regarded in the Bhagavatam one amongst millions. He appeared like the moon, surrounded by stars as he sat in the assembly of sages. So he's really unique, even taking account of the exalted persons in that arena. And he was never really interested in meeting kings. He didn't really want to meet any worldly person, but he saw the qualities of humility in Parikshit Maharaj, and that's why he came there. In the Bhagavatam, there's no mention of the word of Radharani at all, apart from some vague reference. It said that he didn't do that because he would have gone in ecstasy and there would have been no Bhagavatam. So that's Shukadev Goswami. Suta Goswami, again, very quickly, he's the son of Ramahashana, also known as Ugrashava. He's Shrutidhar, he could hear once and remember it. He's a very, very intelligent, sharp devotee of the Lord. He was present when Shukadev Goswami spoke the Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. And his father was actually one who knew the Puranas very, very well. And he was giving discourse to the 88,000 sages at Nimisharanya. But Lord Balaram detected pride. There should be no pride in the speaker. So at that time, Balaram killed him with a blade of grass, showing him that we are nothing in this world. And then Balaram installed Suta Goswami as a speaker. One's son takes birth as one's own self. And he granted Suta Goswami the position of speaker. And Vyasdev was in that arena as well at Naimisharanya. He wrote down, that's what he wrote down, what Sutta Goswami spoke to the sages. So now next one, again, Shaunak Rishi, there's not that much given about him. Shaunak Rishi is the Rishi who's questioning Sutta Goswami. His father is Grit Samadha, and Shaunak is actually a name that's applied to teachers generally. So there's not that much spoken about him or written about him. Lord Brahma, again, we know substantial amount. Of course, nothing compared to his real qualities, but we know from the Bhagavatam, he's the first created being, appeared from the lotus that emerged from the navel of Garbhadakshay Vishnu. He's the engineer of this material world. He's been trusted with the task of creation, the Visarga, secondary creation, populating the universe with living beings who want to enjoy here. He's one of the Gunavatars, qualitative incarnation in charge of mode of passion. His lifestyle, if you like, he lives for our human years, 311 trillion, 40 billion years. That's his 100 years. Huge, long lifetime. He resides in Satyalok. It's better than heaven, far more superior to heaven, topmost planet in this universe. And at the end of his life, 100 years, he will enter the Lord through the breathing of the Lord. His initiation, just because he was born from the Lord, Garbhadakshay Vishnu, didn't mean he didn't have to take initiation. At the beginning, he was very confused when he first appeared, and the Lord guided him by the words, tapa tapa, meaning austerity. He was inspired to meditate by the Lord and to do tapa, which pleased the Lord very much, who shook his hand, became pleased with Brahma very much, and gave him vision of Vaikuntha, spoke the Chatur Sloki to him, which is the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavatam. And again, Brahma meditated after some time, and he was initiated by an expansion of Srimati Radharani, Divya Saraswati. He was given the Gopal mantra, and then the Lord himself, from the 5th note of his flute, gave him the Gayatri mantra, the Brahma Gayatri mantra, no, the Kama Gayatri mantra, which is a very, very sacred mantra, secret mantra. His day job is blessed by the Lord then to recreate the universe as directed by the Lord. He created the 4 Kumaras first, and then others, Marichi, Angira, Atri, Narad, the different Manus who populated the universe. He studied the Vedas 3 times, scrutinizingly, and he ascertained that attraction to Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. So that's coming from Lord Brahma himself. He spoke the Bhagavatam to Narad Muni, as we know from the 2nd canto. And if one desires to merge with the Lord, one can worship him. If one desires dominion over others, we can also worship Brahma. Of course, those are not reasons to worship anyone. Okay, so now let's come to Mahatma Vidur. Now, I know devotees will be aware of Mahabharata, so I'll be happy if somebody would like to give a little history of Vidur, how he came to be born in this world. If anybody would like to share, because I know devotees will know the Mahabharata. So I'm happy for somebody to talk through the pastimes of Vidur, if anybody would like to. Otherwise, you're going to have to hear me. Indulekha. Okay, good.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
I'm not too good at the names, but please, you can tell the names. But Vidura, he was, hold on. He was the death god himself. What's his name now? I forgot.
Yamraj.
Yamraj.
Yamraj, yes.
Yes, he was Yamraj, and he was cursed by Brahmana because the Brahmana committed his sin when he was 8 years old. So when instead of going to Vaikuntha, the Brahmana was sent to Yamalok. So when the Brahmana went there, he asked, "What is my sin? Why did I come here?" And Yamaraj told him that, when you were young, you prick the backside of an ant, I think, with a gross of blades. So you have to be punished in that way. So they put him to sit on a kind of nail,
Yes.
to pay for that sin. And with his mystic powers, he could not. He was holding himself in the air. He could not touch that nail. So then they thought what was happening. So when he came down and he asked Yamaraj, when did I commit that sin? And Yamaraj said, when you were a child. So he said, when a child do something, commit a sin, that is not counted. So I curse you because you didn't do your job properly, and I curse you to become Sudra. So that's how he took birth from a maid servant of the Ambalika and Ambika. They had the two sisters. She was their maid servant because they couldn't give birth to nice sons. One closed her eyes because she was scared of Vyasadeva, and the other one, she got so scared she became pale. So then Dhritarashtra and Pandu were born. So then
Just before that, thank you, Mataji. Just before that, what happened was they were married, weren't they, to Vichitravirya, who died
yes,
at a young age. So they didn't have any children. So the mother of Vichitravirya, Satyavati, they were in some dilemma because Bhishma wouldn't produce any offspring. He had taken the vow that I will remain brahmachari. So then they were in a dilemma, right? Do you remember that bit?
yes, I do remember. I didn't want to go into too much detail, right?
No, that's
So
okay. You can give that detail.
yeah. Okay, so yes, these two, because Vichitravirya and the other brother, both of them died young, so there was no heir for the throne. So then Satyavati got into the dilemma what to do. So then he wanted Bhishma to marry these two sisters, but Bhishma refused. And then Bhishma reminded her that you have another son who told you that whenever you need me, just think about me, I will come. And he was Vyasadeva, who was living in the forest. Then Vyasadeva came. And then these two young daughter-in-laws, they were waiting like for some kind of nice people to come in front of them. But then Vyasdev has been meditating in the forest, and he was like long matted lock and dirty and with the orange robe on him. And these two young women, they got scared one after the other. That's why one closed her eyes and then she got distraught. The other one went pale and then she got Pandu. And then Satyavati, their mother-in-law, was not so happy. So she asked them, she asked Vyasdev to try once more. And then this time they sent their maidservant. And then Vidura was born because the maidservant, she knew and she received this Vyasdev very nicely. And Vyasdev blessed her that you will get a nice son. But due to Vidura taking birth from a maidservant, he could not ascend the throne. So then we will see during the Mahabharata how Duryodhana treat him and throw him out of this palace and all. So this is Vidura's, but Vidura was very learned. And in this Canto 3, we see where he meets Maitreya Muni and Uddhava, how he was so like dejected when he knew that Lord Krishna has left the world. And he was a very great devotee of the Lord.
Very good. Absolutely spot on. His brothers were Pandu and Dhritarashtra, who of course was blind. Yes. And he was a pure devotee. As you said, it was a Yamraj previously. He was cursed by Mandhavya Muni.
Mandhavya Muni, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Very interesting Muni, because as you said, he was so powerful that they couldn't punish him. And then he was so powerful, he could curse Yamraj, the Lord of Death, to take birth as Shudra. So these sages are incredible. So his name indicates expert advisor, Vidur, politically renowned. His instructions were always exact to the point. His activities, he was prime minister. He couldn't ascend to the throne, but because he was so learned, Vidur was made the prime minister. He was the advisor, the counselor to the king, and especially to Dhritarashtra. And often Dhritarashtra would listen to Vidur because his counsel was always spot on. He didn't beat about the bush, right? He was very intelligent and expert politician as well. However, after the defeat, after the Pandavas lost the gambling match, and they were sent to the forest. At that time, Vidur counseled again Dhritarashtra, and Duryodhana was present, saying to Dhritarashtra, you should give them back their rightful share of the kingdom, because it was taken from them by cheating. And of course, Duryodhana didn't like this, and he insulted Vidur, saying, you're born of a maid servant, you're here, you are our paid servant, and you're talking like this. Get out of the palace. Guards, take him out. But of course, Vidur, very intelligent, he said, you don't have to send your guards, I'm going. So he left. He on that basis, that excuse he used to go on pilgrimage and completely cleanse himself of the contamination of the bad association he's had with the Dhritarashtra for many years. And as Mataji mentioned, he was present with Uddhav, and then later Maitreya Rishi, and received instructions which we will also go through in some detail. His qualities, he was bold. When he came back to the palace after his pilgrimage, why did he go on pilgrimage? He could have gone to see Krishna directly, but he was very humble. He thought to himself, I'm so contaminated. Let me go and take a bath in all the different holy places. So he went to Mathura, different places as well, purified himself. But when he returned back to the palace, he was very bold. He said to Dhritarashtra, what are you still doing here? You've lost the battle. You're still living in the palace. You're living at the expense of the victors or the Pandavas. Have you no shame? And he advised him, leave now and make your life successful and get spiritually elevated, which he did. He did Astanga yoga, and he became some sort of yogi, and he passed away in that way. Vidur is also expert at meaningful and purposeful inquiries, and completely Krishna conscious. We saw the inquiries he made of Uddhav, to asking about the Yadus, the Pandavas, and Krishna himself. And then we will see in the next chapter how he asks Maitreya about different aspects of the creation and things like that. He doesn't ask the same questions to Maitreya that he did to Vidur. He's very humble. He accepted counsel from Uddhav. Uddhav is younger than he is. But he humbly sat and listened, and not just younger, but Vidur is actually a pure devotee as well. But he didn't say to Vidur, hey, Uddhav, let me speak to you. He asked from Uddhav information. And we'll see why in a few minutes. He was an optimist. He used the insults of Duryodhana to cultivate higher realization. He had a great appetite for hearing Krishna Katha, as we will see. His interactions, he was always protective of the Pandavas. Got to remember, he was Yamraj, right? So he had a special connection with Yudhishthir, who is a son of Yamraj. But in any case, he always protected the innocent. That was one of his qualities, and Pandavas were always innocent. He affectionately embraced Uddhav when he met and he asked inquiries from him. With Krishna, they were great friends. Krishna would come to Hastinapur. He came at one time as a peace messenger. And at that time, Duryodhan said to him, "Come and eat at my palace. I have made chapan bhog for you." But Krishna said, "It's okay. I'd rather go to Vidur's." And Duryodhan said, "What will you get with those? A little bit of sabji and dal and rice and chapati. But with me, you get so much. You get rasgullas, julab jamun." Krishna said, "That's okay. Don't worry." So Vidurani had cooked a very nice, simple feast for Krishna. Krishna sat there, because he regarded them as like their mother and father. So he would pay obeisances to Vidur, and Vidurani would actually feed him. And she gave him, accidentally, she gave him the banana skin, right? And Krishna was eating the banana skin. And Vidur was saying to Vidurani, "What are you doing? You've given him the wrong part of the prasadam." And Krishna saying, "No, this is very tasty because it's come from the hands of my pure devotee." So this was a loving exchange. And often Krishna would sit, put his feet on the lap of Vidur. So you can see the interaction, such amazing interaction. His interaction with Duryodhan was very interesting. He was the only one, apart from another brother of Duryodhan, Vikarn, who tried to stop the gambling match. This is there were very powerful Kshatriyas in that arena, Bhishma and Drona, who could have very easily stopped the abominable activities that took place, especially the disrobing of Draupadi. And there's some commentators who are saying that Dronacharya, he didn't do anything because he was employed by the king. But Bhishma should have done something. And of course, if he had done something, then we wouldn't have the Bhagavad Gita. So that was the arrangement of the Lord. But Bhishma actually didn't do anything because he had made a vow that he would protect whoever was on the throne. But many commentators say that actually that vow should have been ignored when Draupadi was being insulted in front of the royal assembly. He should have taken his arms and finished off whoever was doing the insulting. But of course, if he had, then this was actually the arrangement of the Lord, that and Bhishma himself is a pure devotee. But even then, he had his intelligence had been covered by the Lord, so that if Bhishma had destroyed the Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra at that time, there would have been no war. There would have been, the Kshatriyas would have continued to populate the world, and his mission, Krishna's mission, wouldn't have been accomplished. And his mission was to reduce the burden on the earth of the Kshatriya rulers.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I think also it's Bhishma Dev, he did not do anything because he wanted to show us how we should surrender. Like when Draupadi went to everybody, nobody could do anything. Then she lifted her arms up and then she cried for Krishna. This is teaching us how we should surrender to the Lord. I think this was the main aim of Bhishma. Otherwise, we would not see how powerful the Lord is in protecting the devotee whenever we cry with helplessness.
But actually, if we look at it from a cold eye, getting the point about what the Lord's plan is, actually he should have acted. Actually, according to Dharma, he was obliged to act. But the Lord put him in that illusion because he's also one of the Mahajans.
Yes.
Bhishma is no ordinary person. So the Lord put him in that Maya, if you like, so that, as you said, Draupadi would surrender, Mahabharata would take place, the war would take place, the Gita would be spoken. Otherwise, there would have been no Gita, right? And where would where would we be if there was no Gita? We would struggle. So for sure.
Somewhere
But
else. Somewhere else,
God knows.
maybe not
God
doing
knows.
Ekadashi, nothing.
You can't even go to the pub nowadays because of coronavirus.
You want to still go distribution.
So, but if you look at it from a cold eye, Bhishma should have acted. He should have acted because as soon as the queen, the princess of the dynasty is insulted, then you have to do something.
The daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law. Whatever your vow is, you leave all the vows and you act on dharma. So, but so be it.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
they also said that like Bhishma Pratigna, one should never take a Pratigna as strong as a Bhishma Pratigna. That's what they say. I don't know how far it is true. And also, yes, we can understand that it's Lord's desire that all things to happen, then the Gita would have been spoken, otherwise nothing would have happened if Vishnu had acted. But for normal people, common people, they find it very hard to understand, why Bhishma and other great Gurujis didn't do anything, like Dronacharya and Krupacharya. Why nobody acted? It's difficult for common men to understand, actually.
It is. It is for sure. It is for sure. Because I mean, Dronacharya, you could argue he was paid. He was a paid member of the team. He was the school teacher. But why Bhishma remained quiet? Apart from the Maya of the Lord covering his intelligence, there's not many answers to that. But you're right, it's very difficult. And in terms of vows, if a vow is made which is actually going to get in the way of dharmic behavior, then for sure that vow is actually not going to serve the purpose for the person following the vow.
Yes.
We saw Bhishma, he was hammered and he had to take a bed of arrows. All the blood had to come out of his body before he could speak about dharma. So you're right. We should be careful about what vows we do take. There are certain vows that are important, like when we take the spiritual vows. But there can, I remember my Guru Maharaj, one time, there was a devotee called Ram Sevak. He was going to get initiated. And he said, I will do my 16 rounds, but I will do 25 rounds. And Guru Maharaj said, no, you don't take a vow like that. You stick to the normal 16 rounds, because if in the future you cannot stick to your 25 rounds, what will you do?
Yes.
But the 16 is the minimum. So yeah, we have to be a little mindful what sort of vows we take. Because once one takes a vow, then one should try to keep to that. Okay, right. And anything else, Naniben?
No. Oh yes. Bhishma Pitama via Satyavati, he is also related to the three Pandavas, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Satyavati was the mother-in-law. I mean, sorry, the stepmother. Stepmother, yeah. So
Second wife.
The mother of Bhishma is Ganga Mata.
Yes.
Yeah. So the stepmother, in that way, absolutely, he's connected with the Pandavas. That's correct. Because Shantanu was the father. Of
Bhishma.
Bhishma.
I would actually connected with Shantanu.
Yeah. And effectively, the stepsons are the Pandavas are the stepsons of Shantanu.
Yes.
Oh no, sorry.
Sorry.
He's the grandfather, isn't he? He's the grandfather. Shantanu is the grandfather of the Pandavas.
Because Satyavati's son was Vichitravirya.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Or even Mataji, Naniman? Anything else from your side?
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's try to cover at least Uddhav. Very interesting personality. Extraordinary, this person. He's Nitya Siddhi, Siddha. He was a devotee from birth. At age of 5, as we read, I think yesterday or day before, he was so absorbed in his service to Krishna that when he was called for breakfast by his mother, he wouldn't come. He was one of the Vasus. This is again described in the Bhagavatam, expanded as one of the 8 Vasus, one of the demigods, desired to become one of the Lord's associates. He was a disciple of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the guru of the devotees. Brihaspati is one of the most learned personalities in the universe, eternal soul. And Uddhav was taught all of the scriptures. He knew every verse of every scripture by heart. Very, very learned, Jnani. His features, he looked exactly the same as Krishna. Dark, beautiful, and he was often confused for the Lord. So very interesting. He was also very respectful. His qualities include his he bowing down to when he met Vidur, because Vidur is older. Just like Krishna would bow down to Vidur. Very mannered. He's much younger than Vidur. So when he was being questioned by Vidur, Uddhav didn't feel comfortable in answering because he was younger. So he sent him to Maitra Rishi out of etiquette. His activities of Uddhav, he was such a knowledgeable person that Krishna would call upon him for consultation often. In fact, it said that almost every decision that Krishna made, he would consult with Uddhav. So you can see how close he was. Uddhav is, I think we mentioned it later, but we can say now, his relationship with Krishna was that he was his father, I've got his name somewhere, was the brother of Vasudev. So, got it next time. Oh, yeah. His father was Dev Bhag, Vasudev's brother. So they were cousins. So very interesting. What was the other point? He was a constant companion of Krishna. So when Krishna came to Mathura, he was born in Mathura, Uddhav. When Krishna came to Mathura, when he was 11, that's when Uddhav first met him. He'd heard a lot about Krishna. When he saw him, he knew this is the Supreme Personality. This is the one who I am going to worship. So, because he knew the scriptures. When Krishna left, he felt great, great sadness, separation from Krishna. Krishna had instructed him the Uddhav Gita at the end. Krishna spoke the Uddhav Gita, which we will cover in due course of time. And it's a very deep scripture. It's part of the Bhagavatam. Krishna also instructed him to go to Badrikaksham, and Krishna regarded him as the foremost of his devotees. This is an exalted position, and the only one who can directly be entrusted with knowledge about him. So Krishna had complete faith in Uddhav. And Uddhav is explained in the Bhagavatam. He was not inferior to Krishna in any way because he was never affected by the material modes of nature. And Krishna himself said this in the Bhagavatam, which is incredible. Krishna made him remain in this world so that he can disseminate the Bhagavatam, specific knowledge about the personality of Godhead. The most interesting aspect, which we haven't covered yet, but it will be covered in the future, in the coming cantos, is how Krishna sent him to Vrindavan with a message for the gopis. And because Uddhav would often wonder, he would see Krishna, and Krishna would be very sad in Mathura. And Uddhav could never get his head around, why is Krishna so sad? He would look in the sort of on the horizon, and he'd just be looking for hours and hours thinking about something. So Uddhav one time asked him, what are you thinking about? Why are you so sad? And he said, I'm missing the Vrijbasi, I'm missing the Gopi, I'm missing my Yashoda and Nanda, and missing my Gopi friends and Gopas and Gomatas. And Uddhav couldn't understand why. You're in Mathura, you are the king, you're as good as everybody worships you. You have, they're just cowherd men and women. Here, you've got Kshatriyas, warriors, you've got glorious Prashadam, so much nectar is here. And Krishna said, okay, you think so? So Krishna sent him to the gopis with a message. Actually, Krishna wanted to take him to the next level, because Uddhav was very respectful, etc., towards Krishna. He knew Krishna's position, but he was a jnani in terms of knowing, but he had not put into practice bhakti. So Krishna sent him to Vrindavan to learn about bhakti. So when he first went, he was expecting to give them gyan, to talk about Krishna and how they should not be so attached. And this material world is temporary. This is what his intention was. And give the message of Krishna. The message of Krishna was, I will come, but you should be happy in yourself. Your service to me, I can never repay. And that's one of the reasons why he left. He could never repay Gopi's service to him. So, but when Uddhav saw how the gopis were completely enamored by Krishna consciousness, they were thinking about Krishna at every moment, and in such a mood of separation, he realized that their bhakti was at a level where he wanted just to become a piece of grass, a dust in the Vrindavan Dham, so that the gopis would step on his head all the time and he would get their dust. So he saw that the love, the bhakti the gopis have, there's no comparison at all. He realized his position was nothing compared to the gopis. And we can see Uddhav's position was Krishna would consult him on every matter. And yet now he's realized, and he spent 10 months in Vrindavan. He was supposed to be a few days, but he realized, I have to learn from the gopis how to love Krishna. They love him so much. Anyway, we'll come across all of that in future cantos. So, okay. We're not going to hit Maitreya. Oh, Maitreya. Is Maitreya's next? If the audience don't mind, we'll continue tomorrow with one more Maitreya Rishi, and then we'll do maybe 2 chapters tomorrow, because Maitreya Rishi it's very, very interesting to understand his background as well. So, are there any Madhusudan Prabhu, any comments, any realizations?
Haribol, Nabi.
Hare
Krishna, Haribol to everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, no, it's a good account of all these different personalities, and it's nice to do it that way so we can relate, because we lose track at times, and who's who, and what did they say, what did they do? But it's nice, nice to do it, I mean, we learn from these different personalities, and actually, they leave instructions and they teach by examples as well, which is very important, But obviously, they also struggle with certain principles at times, and then so it's very nicely done. Well done.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, your blessings actually. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, nicely done, Prabhuji. I fully agree.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Naniben?
No, not so far, no.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? Any realizations you'd like to share? Any pastimes of Uddhav or Vidur which you'd like to share?
Yes, Prabhuji, something that my husband was always telling. I never heard about Uddhav, but my
Okay.
husband was always telling, and he knew quite a lot, as you know, he was very Krishna conscious, and he
Yeah.
knew a lot about Gita and Krishna, and he told the same thing, that Uddhav was more of a gnani, and he could not understand Krishna's behavior when he remembered Vrindavan and the gopis. So he was right to the point. When he was at that time, I could not much understand who was Uddhav or, but
So this is your hubby was saying this.
yes,
Wow, that's
ages
incredible.
ago when we were in India.
That's amazing.
Yes, he knew a lot about Uddhav, and obviously he knew a lot about Krishna anyway. He was, yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Did he read the Bhagavatam? Has he read the Bhagavatam?
No, he was not into reading. He
Wow.
knew about Gita, Bhagavad Gita, but not Bhagavatam at all. Don't know how.
That's
He knew about
really interesting.
He knew about all this, yes. Yeah.
That's interesting. Because you don't get that from the Bhagavad Gita. We only found out from the Bhagavatam.
Exactly. Like I sometimes, but he would sometimes say strange stories that he saw. He was sitting in the lap of Parvati Mataji and he was telling these stories, and I just never understood him.
So now you understand him a bit better.
Oh, I have to. Once so, yes, he was quite learned as far as Krishna was everything to him. Though he never showed, he never read, he was never doing any rounds, but he knew about Krishna a lot. And as you are well aware how he passed away remembering Krishna.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Amazing devotee. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Very personal. You shared something with us.
Whenever I remember Uddhav or read anything on Uddhav, I always remember his conversation. So that's why it has come automatically to my mind.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
How are you?
Yes, good. Do you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hey, one of my favorite pastimes is Vidar, where what happened was Duryodhana was planning to he built this palace or house outside Hastinapur or something, and he said, hey, to the Pandavas, go here, it's really good, you can treat yourself like a retreat. But the real plan was to burn it. And the Pandavas realized very quickly that there's a lot of hay and a lot of oil within the walls and everything. And Vidar went to see Yudhishthir and his brothers, and they're all sitting down with Mata Kunti. But Vidar couldn't say directly to Yudhishthir that, look, there's going to be kind of a blow up. You know, there's something big going on, because Duryodhana spies were everywhere. So he says to Vidar, what animal is most safe in a forest fire? And I think Duryodhana was there as well, and everybody. And when and eventually they got to the right answer. I think the answer was a mouse or a rat. And afterwards, Yudhishthir, it really tweaked him. It really, hey, what the heck's going on? Why was this question asked? Because Vidar probably never, from his personality profile, if you look at it, he probably won't come out with little jokes or sarcastic comments, or especially speech which is unnecessary. That's the level of like responsibility and ownership, and this was totally off the scale, and that's what got Yudhishthir's attention. Interesting in love, it never got any of the other brothers' attention, but it got Dharamraj's. So maybe one has to be very, very Dharamraj to pick up on these subtle but that was an absolutely lovely pastime, and Pandavas eventually did work out that there was fire, and then I think Vidar sent a guy to dig a hole, So so I think that's brilliant. One of the absolutely lovely pastime, and I saw Krishna's hands were in there somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
Shri Radha Krishna.
Yeah, nice one. Thank you for sharing that, Pitamba. Very, very interesting pastime. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Shows the character of Vidur. Yeah, very good. Anybody else like to share? Because Mahabharata devotees will be very familiar with. So maybe tomorrow, if anybody like to share anything, you can think about overnight. Happy for you to share, because this is always it's always nice to recollect some of these pastimes. Just like Pitamba mentioned, very nice pastime about Vidur. So if you recall anything about any of these personalities which you like to share, please don't feel shy. We can do that tomorrow, and we'll try to cover a couple of chapters, isn't it? What do you think? Try to cover a couple of chapters. We'll just do Maitri Rishi tomorrow, just to briefly understand his pastimes. So thank you so much, dear devotees. Let me just take it off.